Just initially wanted to ask on team youth, has anything changed from last week?
No, we're hopeful that Paul will be involved on Wednesday, which will be good for us. And then apart from that, Yanni B will be back in the squad as well, hopefully, all being well. We'll assess whether he's ready to play or not, but he'll be back involved, which will be good for us.
On that VAR decision on that game against Brighton, have you heard from PJ Morris?
Yeah, I spoke to Howard. I think Howard Webb's a really, as I said before, I think he's a good guy. I think he's in a really tough position. And I think there's an acceptance that the goal should have stood. I think how we get to that decision, I think, is the only topic of debate for me and him, really. But I think he thinks it's the wrong call from the referee on the pitch. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, but that was the conversation we had. And that VAR is there for that sort of reason. So if there's a bit of uncertainty on the pitch about Adam Armstrong's involvement, how much he affects people, then give the goal and then let VAR decide if that's really clear and wrong. And I think if that was the process, it's a goal. I think that's agreed. My argument still is that when the goal gets disallowed, I think it's still within the rights of VAR to say it's offside and should be a goal, I think. But obviously that's open to interpretation. It has to be clear and obvious, which is what they've deemed and raised the bar higher and all that stuff. So, but I think the bottom line is it should have been a goal. And I think, I think there is an understanding that there was an incorrect decision on whichever way that was made.
And we're looking ahead to this game against Chelsea. I wanted to get your thoughts on just what Enzo Maresca's done to that side. It seems to be a completely different side that he's put together. They're playing really well. Cole Palmer's one of the key players that's delivering week on week. How impressed are you with the work that he's managed to do bringing out the best of these players? Yeah,
I think Enzo's done a great job. I've got a lot of respect for him and what he did at Leicester last season. I'm really pleased for him that a club as big as Chelsea has recognised the work he did in the Championship and given him the credit for that, because they were brilliant last season, Leicester. And then he's taken. I think sometimes the hardest thing for a coach to do is to take another team and to make it his own and look very similar in such a quick space of time, which he's done. So he has a really talented group of players for sure, but he's managed to get them to buy into his way of doing things and to way of working and to way of playing, and they are really starting to click into gear and to get into flow with it. Against Villa on the weekend, they were excellent, really outstanding. As I said, they have some top players, but it's how you get them players on the ball and in the areas where you want to. They can do their stuff, and they do that regularly. So we have to be aware of it. Obviously, we have an understanding of what his team likes to do from last season, and now he's doing it with players that are of a really high level. So, and I think that's been the toughest challenge at that club over the last couple of years, is to get them to really buy into one thing, and different players that have been recruited for different things, and he seems to have done that. So, big credit to him, and it'll be a tough game for us.
What's it like, I guess, for yourself, maybe trying to stick to your own philosophy and stick to the style that you have in mind for this team, and looking at the whole picture for the full season rather than where you're at the table right now and how the last couple of results have been?
Well, I think you're always balancing game to game, but with having a strategy that is not just built game to game. So I think you have to be able to zoom in and out very frequently and regardless of outcome. So if you, like, wherever we've been, we've sort of started at the utopia, the end goal of what we want it to look like, and then how you get there is very different depending on players, circumstance, how adaptable you need to be, the shape you need to play. So some things take longer than others, some things quicker. We've adapted the shape game to game without losing the philosophy or principles that make us us and what we've worked on and got us here in the first place last season and before that as a group of management staff. So like I've said before, when you really believe in something, you have to, well, you just don't believe in it too much if you don't stick with it. So we believe in something. How we get there looks different game to game and with the different players. And we have 3 players missing tomorrow that have been huge for us, plus Aaron and Yanni B, who have been massive for us. So you take 5 players out of the team, all of a sudden they've probably been our 5 most consistent performers. So we have to adapt and we have to tweak without losing what we believe in and what's important to us. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the players cope with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you mentioned the 3 suspensions there. How difficult is it juggling when you've got 3 on that tightrope, whether you play them all, whether you leave them out? Have you been kicking yourself the last couple of days because it didn't work out?
What didn't work out?
Oh, because they all got back.
Yeah, we got a point away from home, so it worked out all right. Yeah.
So is it difficult does that come into your thinking?
No, so am I kicking myself about playing 3 of our best players away from home against a team that wins second in the Premier League? Absolutely not. So I think like the 5 booking thing, when you play in certain positions, if they're good bookings, you can really accept it. I think a couple of them are for dissent, which is annoying because it shouldn't be the case. But we ask the team to be aggressive, to play in a certain way, to press high, to try and dominate with the ball as much as we can. So sometimes they're going to have to take a booking for the team. And if they're good bookings, you have to accept that as part of it. So I think the 3 of them being banned at the same time is probably a bit unusual. And they've been 3 top players, but like, yeah, it's one of them things. It's happened. It's been 13 games in or whatever now, and it's happened, and we have to adapt to it.
And with those 3 out, Leslie unavailable, managers always say it opens the door to other players. I wondered whether the selection and performance of Joe Lumley has given others an extra spring, an extra iota of motivation that, you know, they can see what opportunities can come.
Possibly, yeah. I think in the same way, probably Ryan Manning coming out of from being not even on the bench to then playing and doing really well, actually, and doing well enough to keep his place in the team and be on the bench and then come on in games. So I think we've said it all season that, you know, you can be out of the squad, but we're going to need everyone. The situation we're in, you can go from not being in the squad to starting, to being on the bench to starting. It's just how it is, and I think you have to be ready all the time. Lummers wouldn't have played if he wasn't ready. Ryan Manning wouldn't have played if he hadn't stayed fit and trained really, really well. He just wouldn't have played. You have to deserve to play, and sometimes you just get a feeling about someone. Circumstance sometimes dictates, and then sometimes you think, oh, maybe we need that in the team, that person in the team for various reasons. So I think everyone understands there is an opportunity always in this squad, no matter how far out you might feel at certain points. And hopefully they never feel too far away, because they're involved in everything we do. They understand. They might not agree, but they understand the reason they're not involved, because we're honest with them. And then after that, it's up to them to take any opportunity they get.
And I wondered what Flynn's reaction had been, having managed his first Premier League goal a few days ago. Have you seen an extra spring in his step, even though he can't play?
Yeah, I think he's just frustrated not to be playing. So I think that's overtaken the feeling he had. But I was so pleased for him, because I think it was one of his best games for us on Friday night. I thought he was outstanding, really, really good. And the goal was a great team goal, and he ended up being intense enough to be in around the box. And we had a lot of players there at that point. Ryan Manning, a real moment of composure in the box. The move to get there was really nice. So yeah, I'm really pleased for Flynn. He took his goal really, really well. And I think we look a different team when he wasn't on the pitch. He had to go off, because I think with the amount of pressure there, dugout were putting on the officials as well for Flynn to get another yellow card. I think it was only going to end up one way probably, and he was on such a tightrope at that point, so we had to take him off, and then the team looked a little bit different. But he's hugely important for us, and I think that game will do him the world of good.
With Chelsea coming up next, I know it's nowhere near your list of priorities, what other teams are fighting for, but are you up against title challenges in your mind this next game?
I don't know. I think any one of them top 4 or 5 clubs, teams are in with a shout, aren't they? I think, like, you know, if you look at Liverpool have been on such impressive form where they hit a bad patch at some point, like City have recently. I think it's so demanding, so many games they play all these teams that an injury or two can really derail you as well. So I'm sure that's what Enzo will be telling his team, that it's wide open and they can fight for everything and anything, and why shouldn't they? So they're a top opposition, but we've played against lots of really top teams recently and done really well and been really competitive. And we have to be the same again. We have to be hard to play against. We have to defend really well, but try and hurt them with the ball as much as we can, like we did at Liverpool in certain moments, Man City in certain moments, and Arsenal as well. So we have to be the same.
Chelsea's pressing game seems to be on excellent form at the moment. I know most teams press now, but having played Brighton and Bournemouth, is that any benefit as a sort of a build-up, playing similar-ish teams?
Yeah, I think Bournemouth are incredible at it. It's very much what they're built on. I think Chelsea is very different, because they want to dominate the ball with Enzo and then press you in a different way when they've got a lot of people around the ball in a similar way as Brighton the other night. So I think every team is different. I think you can take things from every game in every phase of the game, when you're with have the ball, when you're without the ball, when transition, and we try and focus on as much as we can and not miss anything. So yeah, I just think every game is different. And Chelsea, as I said, in terms of style, and that a team I really like. Really good players, and a manager who's really clear on what he wants. So I think we're really aware of the challenge, and hopefully they'll appreciate that we try and play in a certain way and respect that as well.
Thank you.
So, I don't want to be sarcastic. It's lovely that Howard Webb has a cup of tea and tells you should have more points. Do you have any confidence as a manager? Because we don't know the interactions between the clubs and PGO much. Do you have confidence that they'll learn from these things? Because you're suffering a succession of these on a match you Shirtpool and Wolves and Liverpool and now this. And it's hard enough trying to win a game in the first place without getting done.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I think it's probably a bit harder than it needs to be at times now. I think some stuff gets left on field because they know they have the security of the VAR. Then the other night it gets made, the decision made on field, and then the VAR doesn't correct it, which doesn't help us. But then the process is the thing that means it doesn't get corrected. So I don't know, because it will go down as a correct call from VAR. So I think this is probably the issue. It will go down because they haven't overturned it, because it's not clear and obvious. It's still open to interpretation. So then it just goes down to refereeing error. But surely the whole point of having both is so we avoid any errors. So I don't know. Like I said, I've got a lot of respect for Howard. I did as a ref. I thought he was one of the best refs I ever played under because of how he was, and he communicates very well, and it's very clear why he's in that position. I'm sure he gets a lot of respect from the referees, and I have trust and faith in him as a person and his standards, that he will hold people to account as and when he's right, but also he has a job publicly to make sure that he protects his people in the same way I would protect my players and my staff. So I think it's a difficult balance for him, and I just don't want to be moaning about VAR and referees and stuff like that, but it seems we have been a bit unfortunate, and I think he recognised that we seem to be talking way too much, and I hope there comes a point where we're just not, because ultimately it is fruitless really. I appreciate that we accept that it should have been a goal, but also it doesn't matter one jot, and we're maybe 2 points worse off than we might have been.
I think it could be a way of simplifying the process, but when I look at it in American football now, they have video replay, they've added, so that if there's just a mistake made, they just go, no, that wasn't a corner, it should be a goal kick. And rather than just have to wait for a great big rigmarole, could you
I think we can learn a lot from rugby in the way that they communicate it, and it's on a big screen and all that stuff, and also just like the clarity of the communication. When we get sent over the comms, there's a lot of people talking and a lot of people calling each other mate and all that stuff, and I'm not just sure that's elite and high level really. I think it needs to be a bit clearer, but again, that's not for me, that's for Howard and his team to work out, and they'll probably sit at Stockley Park and read what I've said and be very angry about it. And I don't mean it in that way, I don't mean any disrespect, but I just think we try and look at what we do every day and try and improve it, and I'm sure they are as well. And I think that's all you can ask, because if we're going to use it and we're going to embrace this technology for a long time, let's try and make it as good as we possibly can. It is still fairly new and all that stuff, but I'd much rather leave it to them guys to sort out, because there's probably a lot to sort out.
How hard has it been trying to put a team together that you think can compete against Chelsea, given all the players they're missing?
I think I think we have to accept we're missing some key players, but also we have a lot of trust in the players we have available, and it's quite exciting for a couple to have an opportunity. Quite exciting trying to work out what the best way to sort of accommodate for them suspensions and injuries, in the same way that when Aaron and when Rambo and Yanni B, we knew they were going to come out, when Paul was going to come out for a game or two. You just try and work it out, don't you, and adapt and flex. And we have big trust in the players that are coming in. We have big trust in the shape we're going to play tomorrow and the players that are in it, because they've done it before. I'm looking forward to it.
And given your experience against Enzo last year, which wasn't much fun for you,
do you have my experience in the Old Firm derbies as a player?
Do you have to? The reason I say it is because do you have to surprise him when your manager's working on stuff and you think, well, he might have worked some stuff out that I like to do? Do you have to surprise him with or come up with something different?
Yeah, I think like last year they played us really early on. It was probably a good time to play us at our place, and then it was probably a really bad time to play them at their place when we'd had a really difficult result at the weekend, and they were in such a good place, very close to winning the league. So I think we would have learnt a bit, and they would have learnt a bit about us for sure. But also I think his challenge is different now. He has very different players. Our challenge is different now. So I think the context of the game is different. And of course there'll be stuff that we learnt from it and he did, but I think it's very different, and we do things a bit differently this year than we did last year, and he does the same because he has a different group of players. So I think it's going to be an exciting game, and I think one we can definitely try and impose ourselves on, and they'll be thinking exactly the same.
Yeah, and just finally from me, how much does it help having some good stuff from Friday night to give the players for them to build on, ready for this game? Because there was some really good moments in transition on Friday.
There's been lots of good stuff after Liverpool, after Man City. I think the only difference is we have a point to show for it, and we didn't in the games before that. So hopefully that gives players a bit more feeling like feeling good about themselves. But they've had enough evidence over the course of the 13 games to really believe in what they're doing. And there's moments, like I said, that have really hurt us, but they're avoidable. It's not like we're not getting cut open. We're not getting completely dominated and just hanging in there. We're having moments in every game. We need to have a few more, and we need to, like against Brighton, I think there was one mistake early on with Yuki where Matoma missed the chance. After that, we looked solid. We were a bit too passive without the ball in the first half, without really giving too much up. But in the second half, we looked much better, more aggressive, more front-footed. And as I said, we had moments with the ball where we hurt them as well.
And you like them to be nastier. They were nastier on the second half. Saturday's aggression.
Definitely, yeah. I think the team, we want the team to be as aggressive. Like last year, it was built on that really, and people will never talk about the out of possession stuff because they want to talk about the stuff we do with the ball and all that. But you can't have a lot of the ball without being aggressive about it. That's for sure. And I think sometimes that comes down to belief and believing what you are and who you're playing against, and really, being willing to go toe to toe. And there will be moments where it doesn't quite go right. But I love the aggression of the team in the second half, in the same way I love the intensity to defend against Liverpool for large parts, Man City for large parts, Arsenal away. So we have to bring it all on the pitch in the Premier League all the time to have a chance of really achieving something.
Okay, for 10:30, Alfie, George.
Russell, there's a lot of players who've been waiting all season really for an opportunity, and there's three that they're probably thinking this is the opportunity for me, but some of them will get it and some of them won't get it. How do you balance that with the players who've been waiting for the opportunity but it doesn't come this time?
I mean, just honesty always, yeah. So if it's not their time, and it's not their opportunity, to explain why. I think that's all they can ever. That's all I ever wanted or expected as a player, was honesty from a manager. And like I said, sometimes I really didn't agree, but I'd have to respect it because it was honest. So hopefully it'll be the same with our players. I've got no doubt that there'll be disappointment, but there is every week when we name the squad and we have to leave a certain amount of players out because we have a massive squad at the moment. So it's never easy conversation, but it's easier when you're honest and you don't have to make things up. And then, as I said, sometimes they'll leave the office without saying a word. Sometimes we'll have a discussion about it. Sometimes they'll want to have a bit of a heated discussion about it. But when they leave, hopefully they take a step back and, they appreciate that it's just my opinion or our opinion as a group of coaching staff. And they have to keep working, and they'll understand what they need to work on to try and play.
You mentioned Ryan Manning there. It feels like when we try and work out what you could do with the number of players who are missing, he could almost hold the keys to a lot of things because he can play in so many positions, right?
Yeah, he can play midfield. He can play wing back, play full back, centre half. He played there for a season for us at Swansea. So we have a lot of options with Ryan. The same we do with Kyle. Kyle can play in a lot of positions. We have a fair few players that are flexible. Adam Armstrong the same. It will be it'll be interesting.
I know you've spoken about Manning and how impressed you've been since he's come in, but it feels like he's getting more and more love from supporters now with how consistent he's been after quite a difficult first season, perhaps. Yeah.
So it's really interesting, the difficult first season, because I think he played over 35 games in a team that got promoted. So I would argue that's a pretty successful first season. And also, you have to appreciate sometimes the level of responsibility he takes with the ball in the areas he takes it in. So of course, sometimes there carries a little bit of element of risk, I guess it would be perceived as. So I think he did great for us in the first season. I think he's been really good since he's come in the team. He gives us flexibility, and I think he's starting to really believe that he can be at this level. A lot of them are. You can see it in them physically, the body language, the energy they have. And they have to keep growing, and he's one of them that is growing at the moment. It's great to see because he's a big character in the squad, and the players respect him and really love him for what he brings off the pitch as well as on it. So, but he has to be there all the time for him to stay on the pitch and stay playing. They know the level of challenge now and what they need to be.
Fraser was full of energy when he came on against Brighton, very direct, getting balls into the box. Are we kind of seeing the version of him that you expected to see now when he came back?
Yeah, he should have had an assist, shouldn't he? So I think it was a really good performance from him. It's just been stop-start since he come in. He come in late on, so not fully fit. got in the team, picked up a couple of injuries, was ill for Arsenal when he was going to play, and so yeah, it's been a bit stop-start, but hopefully now wee man training for a period, is feeling good, is looking good in training, and that's the level we need him at, 'cause he can definitely contribute for us.
There's no Leslie in the squad at Brighton, obviously he can't play against Chelsea. Is he still in your plans? Is it got in for him that he misses perhaps this opportunity?
Yeah, I think if it's not Chelsea, then he's probably back in the squad, and we were assessing the situation. But as we just discussed there, he wasn't in the squad. He knows the reason why, and every game is different. So it doesn't mean he's not going to be in the squad moving forward. But we just have to assess it game to game.
There's been a lot of discourse about Shay Charles, of how well he's doing. People say perhaps recall him in January. Is that something you've thought about? Is it even something you can do?
So I think Shay went on loan to do exactly what he's done, to play every single week, rather than to be a squad player here, and his first full season last year to build on that. And we're really pleased with his development. It's gone exactly how we wanted it to, for him and for us, to play every week at a good level, good expectation. So it's gone really, really well, and it continues to go really, really well. We have another month to assess things. We have an option to recall Shay if we choose to, but we're not going to call him back unless he's going to come back in and play and impact the squad and be a big player for us. So he needs to keep doing what he's doing. We'll continue to assess our situation and what we need, but he's never not been in our plans. The same way as Sam Adozi, long term, I said at the start of the season he's going to be a big player for us, Shay. And we really believe that, otherwise we wouldn't have invested so much money in him. And he had a really good first season last season, so people say, didn't play, but he did. He played a lot of games, impacted a lot of games for us. In his first season as a professional player, he's a really good season, being part of a promotion winning team. So this season, to build on that, it's been great for him in terms of minutes played, and performances have been better and better as the season's gone on. So we will assess it. We're in constant contact with him, and then we'll see what January brings.